Do you want to know what really pisses me off? When movies cancel on you without telling you before you get to the theater. What's happened to me Wednesday. They're like, walked there, we walked in there like, sorry, we canceled that showing today. I'm like, can you tell us before we drove there? But luckily, we got free tickets and we saw the movie today.
Who did you see it with?
My sister, who I've been trying to, who hasn't seen the movie yet. So she wanted to see it. So I've been holding on, talking about it for 8 months, 9 months. I want to talk to her about it, but I can't because she hasn't seen it yet. So finally,
yeah, I saw the original theatrical version, like when it first came out, and oh man, I loved it. Trying to avoid spoilers, I will never forget all of the speculation about Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield being in the movie. There was this guy, he's a major asshole. His name's John Ferreira. He would argue with me about it all the time, and I'm like, really, dude? Is it really worth arguing over a superhero? And yeah, I mean, it was pretty obvious even before, they were revealed that they were going to be in the movie because, it's a multiverse movie. You have all the old villains from the old movies back. It wouldn't make any sense to not bring back Tobey and Andrew as well. And you know what? That's what people wanted to see. And, Marvel knows that, you give the fans what they want. Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Give them what they want. So, yeah. So the first news happened before the movie started. It was a little three-way Zoom call with the three main actors. And they told Andrew Garfield they loved him as kind of inside joke for the scene where that Spider-Man says, "I love you guys,"
which was unscripted, supposedly.
Yes, it was. That was what I heard. And
yeah, apparently Andrew Garfield, he wasn't just saying that in character. He said that because he really admired Tom Holland, and Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, and from my understanding, Andrew Garfield actually went and saw the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, as a kid. And so, and then, for him to meet him and then to be in a movie with him as Spider-Man was a major treat.
I mean, when No Way Home's original theatrical release happened, apparently before it was officially spoiled that they were in the movie. Apparently, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire met up and they snuck into a premiere screening of the movie.
Yeah, I wish all those leaks didn't happen because, I kind of feel like that they did ruin the movie, ruin the surprise. And, in this day and age with the internet, it's a lot harder, to for a big name movie, to not have it leaked.
Oh yeah, this is why I saw it the Tuesday it came out. I tried to avoid anything I could. I'm like I'm gonna see this, I'm seeing 3 days later. I'm like I'm going for it. I can't wait much longer, so I avoid the leaks sooner better.
I am in the minority in this, but here's the thing. I did not want to see the movie unless I knew they were in. Because I just felt like, if they were going to get the classic villains, they couldn't just cheap out and not have the Spider-Man actors themselves. So
yeah, exactly. It goes back to what I said. It wouldn't make any sense to bring back the old villains, but not have Tobey and Andrew be in it. And, that's what people wanted to see. People wanted to see a live-action Spider-Verse movie with all of the live-action Spider-Man in the same movie. And it would have been foolish, business-wise, to not have them in it.
Sorry to interrupt, but that is the reason why, as soon as the movie came out, all I actually did intentionally spoil myself just enough to know the answer. I didn't know when they were going to be in the movie. I didn't know how long they were in the movie. I just needed to know if they were in. And when I saw yes, I was like, yep, I'm going.
And and what I also appreciated, it wasn't just like a small cameo.
They were in the movie.
They actually have pretty substantial roles. And Tobey Maguire, he was the Spider-Man. That introduced me to Spider-Man, and so to see him back on the big screen was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, for me, he was the second one because I grew up on the '94 cartoon.
Right.
For me, I would probably say my first exposure to Spider-Man was probably the PlayStation game.
The PS1 game?
The PS1 game, yeah. Then I saw the 90s animated series shortly after that. Then I saw Toby, and then I saw Spectacular Spider-Man, then Andrew. Well, not to mention like all the various games. So yeah.
So about the PS1 game, didn't the Spider-Man movie game have the same engine as the PS1 game?
I don't know if it had the same engine, but it had the same type of gameplay.
Yeah, and what I thought was weird is that when Spider-Man would swing his webs, he would shoot up in the sky. So it's like,
yeah, that's how it was.
His webs going in. So it's like, are his webs going up to heaven or something? Or
I remember reading a trivia blurb about the PS1 game. The joke was that his webs were attaching to the top of your TV.
Oh, that is pretty funny.
I mean, the PS1 game was made by Neversoft, the Tony Hawk devs. In fact, the PS1 game runs on a modified Tony Hawk engine.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, Spider-Man is even a playable character in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. And the PS1 game actually has a what-if mode where basically you enter a cheat and you play through the whole game, except it's basically a parody. Like, they add in all these visual jokes and everything. When you crawl by a Pro Skater 2 ad, I think in what-if mode, Spider-Man will actually say, "Hey, that's Tony Hawk. I skated with that guy."
Nice. Well,
such a Spider-Man thing for him to say. So it's perfect.
Well, for me at the time, I was in the mindset to see it anyways, but also this was the first movie I had been out to see in 3 years, or 2.5 years at this point. This was my first movie post-pandemic I went to see, so I was excited to see it. I was excited to go out anywhere besides Netflix. Besides Netflix, see a movie.
So what was the last movie you saw pre-lockdown then?
I think it might have been Far From Home, the previous one.
Well, that's ironic. For me, my last movies in particular order, first it was Sonic the Hedgehog, then it was Onward, then it was The Invisible Man.
For me, the last movie I saw pre-COVID was that Netflix movie, The Irishman. At least I think it was. The one with Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and all of them. Right. Far From Home, I think, was right behind that. Or no, I think it was It Chapter 2. I did not see the first Sonic movie in theaters because I didn't want to go by myself, and that was basically the last movie I could have seen before COVID. And then first movie I saw post-COVID was the new Suicide Squad.
Yeah. I didn't see the Sonic movie when it came out first because I had that mindset a video game movie equals bad, automatically.
But I really feel like that the Sonic movies really have broken that curse.
Yeah, the first movie got decent reviews. The second movie was considered even better. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
But anyways,
now we're getting off topic.
Yeah, it's what we do here. But the movie began with the ending of the last movie, with the big reveal and the big swing away.
And that was what I liked about it. I liked how this movie dwells on all the consequences from the last movie, which pretty much is why we got a multiverse, pretty much because of Mysterio.
Yeah, it's weird, you know. We growing up that we know he's a bad guy before the first movie began, but you know, everyone thinks that he's a hero.
Yeah,
Which I guess shows how some people are influenced by what they see on TV.
so what did you guys think of the cameo from Daredevil? I was not expecting that.
I heard rumors that he was going to be in the movie, and I was kind of hoping for that too, because this was years after all the Netflix stuff was canceled, and we were under the impression that we were never going to see him again.
Yes.
But then the cameo happened, and here's the thing. There were 3 things that the audience in my theater applauded at.
Mine too, and that was one of them.
Obviously, and the third thing was when Daredevil appeared.
Luckily for you guys, because my theater was completely silent. When I saw it, I was the only one applauding. I'm like, come on, people.
Okay.
Well, luckily my theater applauded for him.
Yeah. What were your 3 things again? Well, I didn't hear what your 3 things were that applied for.
There were 3 things that my audience because I didn't see the extended edition of the movie because I didn't think it was worth it for just like 10 extra minutes of stuff. But I know what the extra scenes are.
Yeah.
So I mean, I hope it comes out on Blu-ray because that's the one I want to get. But yeah, when I saw the movie last year, there were 3 things my audience applauded for. 2 of them were Toby and Andrew, obviously. The third one was Daredevil.
Yeah. Well, jumping ahead to the movie, that again, you know, the thing, the other thing they applauded for me, and my audience at least, was, like I said, jumping ahead, is when Andrew caught Zendaya.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was the best part of the entire movie, is because that was redemption, like for what happened in the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
It's a bit cliche, but perfect.
Yeah. And you can see him crying almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, and to be honest, I was thinking that we were never going to see Andrew Garfield ever again, and I was thinking that we were never going to see Toby ever again. But if it wasn't for all that demand from the fans, and for Kevin Feige, I don't think that ever would have happened.
Yeah. So yeah, the next thing after they found out, they were all arrested and taken to the interrogation of the DOD or their version of the FBI, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked each thing, individual interrogation part. He says, I think First Peter's like, I didn't kill Mysterio, the drones did. The drones you control? Yeah. Then Michelle's like, just quiet, whatever. Like, Ned, they tricked Ned into talking.
Yeah, and so I really feel like that this is a movie that needs to be seen with an audience, because when you watch it at home with like the Toby and Andrew reveal, it's just not the same. And I'm sure that you two will agree about this. It's like this is pretty much like a new Midnight movie, even though it's by no means a cult movie. It's definitely a lot more mainstream than say something like Evil Dead or Rocky Horror Picture Show. It's pretty much a new Midnight movie, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because it's a movie that needs to be seen on the big screen with an audience. It's really not the same, if you just watch it at home. So yeah. And the one who I felt like really deserved the redemption was Andrew Garfield, because, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was disappointing, and and he got robbed of doing another movie. It was not his fault whatsoever. It was more so the fault of Sony, and just the script and everything. It could have been better. Amazing Spider-Man 1, I loved it when I first saw it. As time goes on, I can see more of its flaws. So yeah.
Yeah. I think each one they do something different. Like in the first first series, both series, at the end they both had Harry Osborn being a villain at the end of the movie. Then there's no this one. There's no Harry Osborn.
Uh-huh. And I can totally see why that they didn't have Harry Osborn in the Tom Holland movies. I can see why that they didn't have Uncle Ben because we've already seen all that. But however, though, in a way, Aunt May kind of is the new Uncle Ben, especially when she said the famous line. I was not expecting that.
Oh,
How
sorry.
how do you two feel about Aunt May pretty much being the new Uncle Ben? Especially when she said that famous line, "With great power comes great responsibility."
I think it was different, basically, because in the other two movies, Uncle Ben died in the first act almost. Here, Aunt May has been through 3 or 4 movies, so we see even Civil War, through Civil War 2. So we actually saw her progress through movies. So she died in the first 10 minutes, so we got to know her more.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like there's a lot more emotional impact there. What's funny, I remember when she was first cast, people were complaining that Marissa Tomei is too hot to be Aunt May. I will admit that that's pretty funny. I mean, she looks very different from the other Aunt Mays, but I remember that I read a comment once. Someone said I shouldn't be having a boner for Aunt May. I thought that was funny.
Because it's funny, she is the right age to be playing a bit younger Aunt May for like a younger Spider-Man. It's just that she looks really good for mid-50s.
She does. I mean, really good.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. I think Andrew Garfield was a little bit in high school too. High school, but most of the Spider-Man happened thinking they were in college already. This is the first series where he's actually in high school.
Yeah, and they, I mean, briefly in the other movies, Peter wasn't in high school, but very briefly. But that's what I like about Tom Holland. He actually looks like he's in high school. So and so because of that, they were able to take advantage of him being in high school a little bit longer.
Did you think one of the reasons the characters had good chemistry is they were dating in real life?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Amazing Spider-Man. Those movies, in my opinion, may be a little bit mediocre, but the best thing about those movies was the chemistry between Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield, especially because those two actually were dating in real life.
Yeah.
Kristen Dunst, and more so was how she was written. Especially in Spider-Man 3, where she's kind of written as a bitch. Personally, who I think Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, I think his Spider-Man or Peter Parker would have been better off with his landlord's daughter. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Yes.
It was pretty clear that that character had a major crush on Peter, and she actually was nice to Peter, cooking him food, completely for free and being supportive of him. While when Kristen Dunst, this Mary Jane, would cheat on him, and Ursula, that was her name. Yeah.
Yeah, and this, of course, this is when was this the third movie? This is the third movie or something when he was like
Emo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That was cringy. I mean, look, I get it. They're trying to show Peter being more evil, but the emo thing, that was a little bit too much.
Oh yeah, but I did learn. I didn't notice it first, but till later. that the Ned guy was in the comics. He was one of the hobgoblins.
Yeah, and about that, I actually heard a fan theory saying that Ned like was going to turn into the Hobgoblin in this movie. That obviously didn't happen.
Yeah.
One of the villains that I'm disappointed didn't show up was Rhino. I mean, although Rhino was mentioned, but but he didn't show up.
It's funny because I think an early like script leak that turned out to be fake actually did have Rhino in it.
But I have another theory. What's was at the ending, but the one villain that did show, which wasn't actually, no, he wasn't a villain, more of the anti-hero that did show up for like 2 minutes. You know,
Sandman,
no, Venom.
Venom, yeah, and so
But here's my thing real fast. I think at least in the future, I don't if next, it might be the next one. I'm thinking that little symbiote is going to take advantage of Peter while he's at his lowest right now, with no friends, no nothing.
I think so too. I've even heard rumors that they're finally going to do an Amazing Spider-Man 3, and and there was that moment, and like when Andrew Garfield Spider-Man said, "Oh, I want to be able to fight. I want to be able like to fight an alien," is because that you two have. So No Way Home made a crap ton of money. So obviously they are going to continue this. I mean, like what? No Way Home now is the highest grossing Spider-Man movie of all time. It made like $1.9 billion. It was.
I'm pretty sure it's in the top 5 earning movies, period.
Yeah, I mean, it was the first movie post-COVID to make $1 billion.
Yeah, I think they're gonna get an agreement. Some people were speculating if Marvel and Sony can come to agreement again. I think they will, personally.
I think so too.
They're like, thanks for the money we made, guys, but we're on our own again. Bye.
But yeah, what I think that they should do, finally make Spider-Man 4, a sequel to the Tobey Maguire movies, because people obviously want to see that. People want to see Amazing Spider-Man 3. And, people want to see Tom Holland Spider-Man back.
Yeah, there's a rumor that the three of them will be back together again in the Kane Chronicles or the next Avengers movie.
Wars.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that ended up happening. Yeah, also, that was what I loved about this movie. I thought that they had excellent chemistry.
There's also another rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, where people want to happen is since like the king's sister, is the king's sister in Wakanda is going to be at MIT, and they think that maybe they're going to have a guest appearance with MJ and Ned. They're at MIT now, or they're going to be.
Interesting. One of my favorite scenes in No Way Home, it was that scene when all three Spider-Men, every single one of them, like, we're all talking about their past, all of the villains that they fought, I thought that scene alone added so much to their chemistry.
I like the part where, besides the villain part, they talked about, we worked with a team before. I was the Avengers. The Avengers, was that a band?
You were in a band?
But yeah, like really, this is the first time Spider-Man in universe has been with other people in movies. The other ones have been purely solo things.
Right. So because of that, that would make sense as to why that the other Spider-Man said that. So yeah, so that makes total sense. Do you two think we're gonna get Spider-Man 4 or an Amazing Spider-Man 3 at all?
I think they've already confirmed a 4th movie with Tom Holland is in like very early pre-production. As for another as for another movie with Toby and Andrew, I'd say Andrew probably deserves one to get proper closure. Toby, I have no idea.
Yes. And right after No Way Home came out, I remember I would see people constantly posting, the hashtag Make Amazing Spider-Man 3. Oh yeah, and so I'm also surprised that Michael Keaton didn't show up either.
Well, technically, he was already in the universe, so.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been cool, to have him show up during the third act battle.
I mean, I'm surprised that they didn't full on make the Sinister Six. There was only ever 5 of them. I mean, technically you can count Venom, but he never interacted with them. So.
Right. It's like the
question: if you were in character, what side would you be on? You think would you be on the Spider-Man side, or would you be on the Mysterio believer
side?
Spider-Man.
Because it's just not Spider-Man's character to kill. Which about that, during that scene of when Tom Holland almost killed William Dafoe, and then after that, Tobey Maguire prevented him. And it makes sense. Out of all the Spider-Men who would prevent him from doing it, it would make sense that it would be that version.
I did not know. I think the Andrew Garfield one was off screen a bit because I didn't really show him, but at least with the Tobey Maguire one, we know that he killed somebody before, so he knows what that's like.
So yeah, so it goes back to what I said. It makes sense that it would be his Spider-Man. That would, and that would prevent him. Although, wait, are you talking about when he killed the Goblin in the first Spider-Man movie?
He didn't kill the Goblin. Well, the Goblin killed himself. I thought when he killed the guy that thought he killed his Uncle Ben.
So yeah, and so because of that, that's why it was so much more powerful that it was Tobey Spider-Man, who prevented Tom Holland Spider-Man from doing it, and then and then let's say that if Tom Holland Spider-Man, okay, I have no idea what's wrong with my camera, but but it makes.
For help with that question, go to the help and feedback
Alexa,
section of the Alexa app.
Alexa, stop. I have no idea why it started doing that, but yeah, that was one of the most powerful scenes in the entire movie. I mean, you definitely can tell that Tobey definitely has aged, but I mean, to be fair, Spider-Man 3 came out 15 years ago, which I can't believe it's been that long.
Yes, well, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was 2014.
Almost 10 years ago.
Yep.
That's crazy shit. But yeah, what do you two think about the Amazing Spider-Man movies?
It's been a very long time since I sat through the first one. I thought it was okay, and then the second movie, it's got a ton of problems, but I at least found it watchable.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem is that it tries to set up a cinematic universe way too quickly.
And, and that's the problem. It was more so focused on setting up other movies versus actually being a good movie itself.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I didn't see them until years later because at the time I was still on the burnout of Spider-Man 3.
I can see why, but yeah, I was just hyped just to see a new Spider-Man movie again.
Speaking of all 3 movies, each one has a different love interest for the thing. They're not the same love interest. In Tobey Maguire, we have Mary Jane MJ, and then in the Andrew Garfield, we go the Gwen route, which if you know the comic books, that might have been coming. She might have died because he died in the comic books.
And the thing is with Amazing Spider-Man 2 is that they were going to introduce Mary Jane in the second movie. They even filmed scenes with her, but then they ended up cutting her out, and they were going to save her for the third movie, which didn't happen. And the sad thing is, except for test footage of it, none of the filmed scenes were leaked.
Yeah, which is a shame because I'm just so curious as to how those scenes would have looked like. And They also cast the perfect person, like they cast Shailene Woodley from those Divergent movies. She would have been perfect as Mary Jane.
And then the Tom Holland ones, they brought MJ back. They changed it up. Instead of Mary Jane, they changed her into Michelle Jones.
So yeah, so they kind of brought back MJ in a way, but a different, very.
Which I thought was a very good reveal at the end of the Homecoming. He says, "Our new Captain Michelle." It's like, my friends call me MJ.
It's funny because No Way Home reveals that her full name is actually Michelle Jones Watson.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think
yeah,
her
in the
parents are split.
interrogation. Interrogation. He says, like, I don't go by Watson, like Miss Jones. Apparently, in the movies, he hates her last name for, I guess, married parent reasons.
So yeah, but yeah, I mean, as far as being closer to the comics, it actually was originally like was Gwen Stacy first, and then it was MJ. So I do applaud Amazing Spider-Man for wanting to stay more true to the comics in that sense. But I can understand why that the Tom Holland movies, diverge a little bit away because it's the second reboot. It within just a few years. Amazing Spider-Man 2 was 2014. Then we saw Tom Holland's introduction in 2016. Just 2 years later.
Yeah.
So I can see why that they took some liberties.
So you think it was a good idea that they introduced him in his own movie? They introduced him in the Civil War movie?
That's a tricky thing to say because I thought that it makes sense like that, and like that it was Tony Stark who helped, him with his suit, and it makes more sense as to why, for why his eyes move because that actually was something in the comics. Spider-Man's eyes were very, very expressive, but they never were able to do that in any of the movies. But then, but it makes sense now that with the help of Tony Stark, that would make sense for why his eyes are finally expressive. And also, originally Spider-Man had like that web cape or whatever you want to call it. And then we finally got to see that in, I believe, Far From Home.
Oh, yeah.
So, I greatly do appreciate that, and like that we got to see that because I was thinking that we never were going to see that in a Spider-Man movie, to be honest.
Yeah. So, you think that was realistic that all the colleges would reject them for being friends with Spider-Man?
Well, after what happened, like with Mysterio from Far From Home, I can see why, that would cause conflict in his personal life, which is why that he went to Doctor Strange, and to erase all that.
Yeah, I like the scene where Flash came in and they're like, "You guys didn't get in?" They're like, "Yeah, because we're actually friends with Spider-Man." And he wrote that. You wrote that book about it.
Yeah. Okay, if my camera's gonna be this blurry, I think I should just turn my camera off.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I truly have no idea why my camera is acting.
Yeah, I'll do it too. We'll be the cameraless crew today.
Yeah, I was trying to get it in focus, but no matter what I did, trying to get the camera close to my head, it still was blurry. So you know what? I don't feel like tampering with it. So
yeah.
So,
But I like. Then he gets the idea to go to Doctor Strange by seeing that the wizard or witch and the Halloween Directs things.
yeah,
and I like it.
And pretty much it's because of No Way Home, is why that we got the multiverse of madness.
Yeah, but I like the scenes I liked in that area was one, they go there and he's like, "I thought you were the Sorcerer Supreme." He says, "He got technology. He got technology because I blipped for 5 years." which I think is cool. Which I think is cool, canon wise, because if somebody's gone for 5 years, you gotta have a new replacement.
Yeah. Was there anything that you thought could have been better about No Way Home?
Better. Huh. Mm,
I can't really
yeah.
think of anything. I mean, I guess it's minor. William Dafoe did a phenomenal job, and it's cool that we got to see more of his facial acting versus from the first Spider-Man movie where he was wearing that helmet. And William Dafoe is such a good actor, and like that, Green Goblin is supposed to have green skin and whatnot, but William Dafoe's such a good actor with his facial expressions.
Yeah, which I think people complain. I think that's one of the reasons. I think that's one of the reasons. Well, not reasons. What I think people complain about the most in the first movie was that mask. No one liked that. No one liked the mask.
Yeah, it definitely felt Power Ranger-ish, so I can definitely see why, and especially with what they originally were going to use. They originally were going to use like a prosthetic mask, and like that can make all these expressions. And I mean, would it have been nice to see William Dafoe like with that green skin? Absolutely, so I could be more active in the comics. But I do love and like that we finally got to see him wearing that hood because maybe it's because that is what the Green Goblin had, in the comics. And
yeah, I think they did this. I think they did the green skin in Spider-Man 2. It made Spider-Man 2 with the.
yeah,
With that.
they did like they're trying to explain it was like some disease. I mean, that makes sense. And that's probably why that they didn't do it in this because Amazing Spider-Man 2 wasn't well received. I don't think it, I really don't think the Green Goblin having, like that green skin disease was one of the reasons why Amazing Spider-Man 2 wasn't as well received. It was for other things, it was because it pulled the same crap Batman v Superman pulled. It pulled the same crap that the Tom Cruise Mummy pulled. They were more so focused on setting up other movies versus making your own movie a good movie. And with all the movies that I have made, I knew that was the one mistake I wanted to avoid. I mean, yes, all of my movies definitely lead up to the next movie, but it's not until like the very very end, and it's a little bit more subtle. So yeah, so that's why Amazing Spider-Man 2 flopped.
The other thing in the besides the reveal of the new Sorcerer Supreme was after the spell failed. I thought was first I thought was funny was he says well if you talk to the people and nothing you can do then like Tom's like you can talk to him, you can call him. He's like you've been telling me you didn't even try to talk to the missions before you try to brainwash the whole world.
Okay, I just thought of this. Some missed opportunities for the movie. I think that they should have at least had a cameo from Kristen Dunst. They should have at least had a cameo from Emma Stone. And one cameo that I think would have been hilarious. I think at the end with one of those Doctor Strange portals, who I think should have came out of one of those portals, like is the red guy from Spider-Man 2. And then, it would be so funny, like if he came through one of the portals, talking to Toby saying, "Pizza, give me my rent."
But that's a good idea. Since all Spider-Man villains they killed them they came back before they died. We could have Gwen come back before she died, and somehow that changed it.
But yeah, I think I heard a rumor that they were going to bring them two back, but COVID prevented that. I don't know how true that is. Have you two heard anything about that?
I
Just
knew there were
rumors
that they were going to try and bring them back, but that's as much as I heard.
Now,
yeah, that was a missed opportunity.
Do you think killing the villains and bringing them back created different separate timelines in the universes?
I don't know.
What do you say, Eric?
You said something about villains from other.
No, when they cured the wait, hold on, they cured the villains and sent them back. Do you think that created separate timelines?
It's definitely possible. I mean, it definitely is. I mean, I think it's reasonable, to infer that there probably is like a different version of Doctor Octopus out there,
Yeah,
like who isn't, the version played by Alfred Molina.
yeah, because because both Octopus and Sandman mentioned their death. Yeah, Dr. Octopus mentioned that he knows that Dr. Norman died, and Sandman knows they both died. So
Yeah, before the movie came out, that was something that really confused me. I was like, okay, wait, how is the Green Goblin back? Because he clearly died at the end of the first Spider-Man. How is Doctor Octopus back? Because he clearly died. Sandman, he didn't really die. He just more so faded away. I mean, that's not really dying for him. He mostly just blew away.
I think with Sandman, they imply that it might be the Sandman from like the present day, or at least after Spider-Man 3's events. Because when he first appears, he shields like Spider-Man, thinking it's Toby. He's like, "Don't worry, Spider-Man, I got you."
Oh yeah. And so the really cool thing about the Sandman, I shit you not, Thomas Hayden Church actually is related to me.
Wait, he is?
Yep, I shit you not. Thomas Hayden Church actually is related to me. And and just the thought that, just the thought that, somebody like who played a Spider-Man villain in a mainstream movie is related to me, that is badass.
Wow.
So was it your like third cousin or something, your second cousin?
From my understanding, he's a distant relative of my mom's side of the family. The reason why that we know he's a part of the family is because there was a funeral for a family member on my mom's side of the family, and Thomas Hayden Church was there.
Ooh.
So yeah, I haven't met him, but I mean, still, the fact that Thomas Hayden Church is my cousin, that is cool. I mean, not that many people, not that many people can say that. Somebody like who played a Spider-Man movie villain is related to them.
Well, we'll fast go to the next alternate scene, exit scene. It's in gym class, and everyone's making Spider-Man climb the wall.
That sounds like a pretty cool scene. I mean, after what happened with Mysterio, I could totally see a high school actually doing that in real life.
I think the other one was, Spider-Man was chasing someone who stole a purse, who was played by his real life brother.
Yeah, that was one of the scenes they cut from the original version. They put it back.
Do you know why that they cut it in the first place? Was it because of pacing?
I think it was like timing reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the movie already was 2.5 hours long, and as a filmmaker myself, with my first movie was 2.5 hours long, and there were scenes that I cut for the same reason.
Yeah, and I liked it because they're talking to them, and they're they're all arguing about Spider-Man being like 14 or whatever. He's a teenager. His brain isn't developed yet.
Oh, to answer that comment I see in the chat about Lizard and Electro dying, Electro does die. Lizard does not. He gets cured.
So yeah, okay, I haven't seen the movie since December. So how do they explain that Electro's back again?
It just like with Doc Ock and Green Goblin, he was taken just before his death.
Okay, that would make sense. And what I do like
the same thing with Lizard, he was taken just before he was cured.
Okay, that would make sense. And I definitely loved what they did to Electro's look in this, because it was really hard to have the original suit and not have it be laughable, but with the way how they did it, yeah, it was a lot more comic book accurate, to the original look.
And at the very least, they explain why the different look. Because when Electro first appears, he's still like blue, like he was in Amazing Spider-Man 2. But then they end up changing his appearance like after the first fight with him.
Oh yeah, yeah. People like the William Dafoe mask. People did not like the blue look in the Spider-Man 2.
I can see why, because I remember at that time there were a lot of memes made about that. Like I remember seeing one and like where Electro actually is a part of like the Blue Man group. I'm not gonna lie, that meme was pretty funny.
And I know people were criticizing the original Green Goblin suit because people thought it looked like a Power Rangers costume.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
I mean, again, they show the costume in the movie, but then he destroys the mask.
Yeah, and I did research. When they're casting the very first Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, William Dafoe was not their first choice. It was some other guy, I forget who it was, but their other choice was Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey, huh?
I mean, Jim Carrey, physically wise, as far as his facial expressions, I think that he would have been good. I mean, Jim Carrey also has shown in like that he can do serious roles, but the problem is Jim Carrey at that time wasn't really into sequels.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it would eventually he would do a Dumb and Dumber sequel, and obviously he does Sonic movies, but yeah, not back then. Now.
Yeah, back then, yeah, there was no way that they would get Jim Carrey back for a sequel.
Oh, I think it was actually because he did a sequel to Ace Ventura and he didn't like it, so that resulted in a bunch of sequels to Jim Carrey movies that didn't have Jim Carrey.
Like Son of the Mask. Ugh.
Son of the Mask, the Dumb and Dumber prequel. There was a sequel to Bruce Almighty.
Yeah, Evan Almighty, and that's proof you don't do sequels to a Jim Carrey movie without Jim Carrey.
Yeah, I talked to Eric about this a little bit, but both your opinion too. Both of you have applied for college. I've only been in community college, so it's different. But you both applied for college. Do you think you guys, if you were friends with Peter, you guys got rejected from college? If you were his friend in real life, your college rejected you?
I mean, if Ned and MJ got rejected, I'm pretty sure I would have if I knew him.
And and that was one of the things that I thought made Tom Holland's Spider-Man likable in this movie. It was the fact that he was trying to help his friends out because he felt bad on that. Well, because of him and Mysterio is why that they can't go off to college, better their lives. And so, ultimately, Tom Holland shouldn't have messed with, Doctor Strange, with messing that spell. But, his heart definitely was at the right place.
Yeah. I'll jump ahead again. In my opinion, at least, that goodbye scene, of them, and later on him not telling the truth, him breaking the promise to not to remind them, was like, in my opinion, was like the second most saddest fictional event that I've seen. It made me cry. Only one. Sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry.
I said the.
Oh, sorry.
The only thing that beat me for it was an anime that I cannot physically watch anymore. That's another sad moment. Someone died in, and I physically cannot watch the episode of the anime anymore. So, as sad as this comes a close second because I can actually see this again.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid when I would watch the original Tobey Maguire movie. I remember at the scene, like when Uncle Ben died, it was at that scene when like he's lying down on the streets, and Peter Parker's there crying. I remember as a kid that scene actually made me cry too. We have a troll. I'm gonna put him in timeout. I've been getting a lot of trolls on my live streams recently. It's annoying.
That's part of the reason why I stopped live streaming.
Moderators.
That is actually part of the reason why I stopped live streaming.
I can see.
You got trolls?
Not trolls, just bots and people that are just annoying.
Yeah, like you probably have gotten like those sex bots, right?
Yeah, I've gotten those kinds of bots. I got one person in chat who would do nothing but ask the same dumb questions over and over again, even when I answer them.
Okay, two options. Either they're just trolling or they're mentally deficient.
Yeah.
Or both.
Yeah. Or both, yeah. So
and that's not even the only example.
So what questions would they ask you?
Okay. So I'm playing the game. Here's an example. I'm playing the game Crash Bandicoot.
Right.
Who is the female Bandicoot in this game? Oh, in the first game, it's Tawna. Oh, thank you for your answer. 10 minutes later, who is the female Bandicoot in this
That would get annoying.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we got a topic, so let's get back to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But anyways, I gotta rewatch the Spider-Man 2 again to see how Andrew Garfield reacted after Gwen died. But to see, I saw Tom Holland's face when Aunt May was dying. He was like, it just hurt to watch it.
And yeah, what I loved about that fight scene between Tom Holland and the William Dafoe Goblin, I could so feel all that rage within Tom Holland. I mean, every punch that he punched, you could feel all that rage.
Do you mean the fight, like the last fight or the first fight?
After Aunt May died.
Fight. After, okay.
Yeah. I'm talking about that scene after when Aunt May died. And and Tom Holland was just about to kill him, and like with his own glider, but then Toby came in and stopped him.
Because you got me thinking of the first fight, because like the one where Green Goblin completely curb stomps him, like the moment where Tom has him like in a grip and he's like punching him in the face, like at first he takes it, but then he just starts smiling at him, and then he does the classic laugh he did in the Toby movies. Like that actually gave me a bit of goosebumps, because like wow, he really is back playing this part like over 20 years later. Well, 20 years.
So yeah, so they go there. He to find out. They fight. He likes the octopus, and he tears off the costume, and all of a sudden, Peter can control his arms now. So. How did they mentioned it when they cured him, like in the second movie, I guess, instead of the arms, he controlled the tentacles control him or something. The tentacles were controlling his brain or something.
Yeah. So they established that in Spider-Man 2, like there was like some chip on his neck that was supposed to help him control the arms rather than the arms controlling him, but then when all that crazy shit started to happen, that one chip on his neck exploded, which then explains why that the arms were able to control him. And I believe at the end of No Way Home, I believe that they restored that. They restored that chip.
Yeah. Also, Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I heard that they de-aged Alfred Molina, to have him look more like he did in Spider-Man 2, but they decided not to do that for Toby. And I don't think they did that for William Dafoe.
Yeah, no, Willem Dafoe, I think they digitally de-aged too.
Well,
Yeah.
I think with Toby and Andrew, they were supposed to be the ages they were
Yeah,
currently in
Toby
real
and
life.
Andrew were supposed to be like the present day. Like they weren't from like years ago.
Which makes sense, and
Because let's see,
yeah.
they digitally de-aged Willem Dafoe and Alfred Molina. Then let's see, for Sandman and Lizard, they only had them in CG. But then for the scenes where they're cured, that's not their actors like in new footage that they filmed. All they did was cleverly like CG in archive footage from Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 1 to like show them in their cured states. And then Electro, they didn't have to digitally de-age because he looks the same as he did back then.
Right, yeah. And as far as the footage goes, I imagine that they did that,
to save on costs, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Because they would have had to be because digital de-aging is very expensive, and they would have had to be de-aged.
And yeah,
but it is the original actors doing the voices.
So yeah,
like Dante in Church's Sandman.
Oh yeah. So they next thing they gather all the villains. Oh, I like this. I like the scene where he goes there. And he's like, "It's my fault you're here. The universe or the woods?" He's like, "The universe." I hate the woods. He's like, I'm naked, right? But yeah, they go. He brings his friends to the sanctum, and Doctor Strange is like, you go Scooby-Doo this or something, and MJ's like, I think that's word for myself. It's called please. It's your spell and your fault. And he's like, please Scooby-Doo this shit. But yeah.
Yeah, and what I thought was cool about William Dafoe, I mean, I believe he's in his late 60s or somewhere around there, and yet, William Dafoe did, all that fighting, all the stunts he did, it was all done by him.
Yeah.
You have to admit, for him, with with where that he's at in his life as far as age, that's impressive.
And do you think the Spider Center tingled, as they saw in the series, Tom had the strongest one, or the other ones had better Spider-Man senses?
That's a good question. I feel like I would have to go back and rewatch them just to compare them. I feel like that the Tobey Maguire movies really dwelled on it a little bit more, especially in the first movie. But I don't think I really remember them using the Spidey sense all that much in the Tom Holland movies, as far as I recall. And I don't recall seeing it much in the Andrew Garfield movies, unless if I am wrong.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure that was the first movie, but in the second movie, I think they first mentioned it in the Infinity Wars when he notices that his hair goes up and we notice the aliens invaded.
Okay. Now I want to go back and rewatch Civil War because I haven't seen that ever since I saw it at the movie theater.
Not Civil War. I meant Infinity War.
Oh, Infinity War. Okay, yeah.
They were on the bus, and his hairs went up.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember that scene now. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, I think first they mentioned it, but it was weird. They're trying to cure. They're making the cure for like Electro or Green Goblin or somebody, and then he notices it. He looks at all of them, and then he knows it's Goblin, is the villain. And then there's that speech he made. He says, God don't need to choose. They take. Which led to the big deaths. Led to the big fight and Aunt May dying. I liked how he can still control he still controls the Zeppelin glider from that far away, and he brought it back to run through Aunt May.
So, do you two think that Uncle Ben does exist in the Tom Holland?
Yeah, he does. I think he does, because if you remember, there's a brief scene in Far From Home when he's packing his suitcase. The initials were BFP.
Yeah, and I believe in that What If series, the Tom Holland Spider-Man actually does mention Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand they didn't want to do a third repeat. They didn't want to just repeat the Uncle Ben stuff for a third time after the Toby and Andrew movies did it. But it would have been nice if he mentioned him a little bit more.
And that's the other thing they didn't do, is they didn't get him. Unlike the first ones, they didn't get him getting the powers. He already had them.
Yeah, which, after the Toby and Andrew movies, we really didn't want to have to sit through that all over again, watching him get his powers. That just would have been redundant.
So, why do you think they had Tom, unlike the Andrew one or the Toby one? Tom's the one that tried to cure the villains.
That's a good question. Maybe because Tom was the first one to think of it, but I want to hear what you two think.
I know there's one line from Toby because when the three of them are like working on the cures, like Andrew takes Lizard because he cured him already, like in his own universe, so he's just gonna do it again. Toby's the one that works on the Goblin's cure, and he even says a line that says, "I've been thinking about it for a while." So it's like after the fact, he was like regretting like the Goblin's death, and he was wishing he could go back and cure him instead of him dying to his glider.
Yeah, I sorry.
I mean, because like in that moment, like you could tell Tom's Spider-Man still really hates Goblin for getting Aunt May killed. So it's like he doesn't want to make the cure, but like Toby's like the one that kind of pushes for it.
But right? I think that they mentioned it. Goblin mentioned it too. I think that one of the reasons that Tom did it was because of Aunt May, because Aunt May was like one of his moral compasses. And without her there, he's like, you got in a dark place. Another thing I heard that apparently Electro didn't know Peter Parker was Spider-Man, so that was a weird thing. Or did he know?
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
So do you think he didn't know what he looked like?
Yeah. So do you think they should have, talking about Rhino, do you think they should have brought back the other Venom from the Topher Grace Venom, or like one of the two Harry Osborns?
I haven't. Yeah, about that. I was expecting James Franco to come back, but then I heard that there's been a lot of legal issues with him, apparently with some sexual activity with minors. If that's true, I can see why that they didn't bring him back.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, but apparently he was having something with like a 17-year-old girl.
Okay.
So if that's true, that would explain why why you don't see James Franco in movies anymore.
And who played the other Harry Osborn in the
Dane DeHaan was his name.
Yeah, Dane DeHaan. Yeah, I'm surprised that we didn't see him come back either.
Yeah, like they should have. I mean, they already had one. I mean, I guess they had Willem Dafoe in place, and maybe it would have been weird to have two goblins in. But we got no closure on him. So on the Dane DeHaan one.
Yeah, that would have been good thing for like how Tom Holland was after the Norman one. We still have that Andrew Garfield, about his girlfriend dying.
So what they could do, if it is true that they're going to have all three of them come back for the next Avengers, maybe that's when they could have Dane DeHaan come back, and then and to see Andrew Garfield just beating the crap out of him. That would, oh man, I would love to see that.
If they are going to have Andrew back, they definitely should try to get Dane DeHaan back so they can give closure to that part.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, what else has Dane DeHaan done? I mean,
his career kind of fizzled out. I mean, he had a couple more movies, but they were all bombs.
Yeah, there was that one independent movie that had a really big budget and also had that girl from Suicide Squad in it, but that flopped.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Dane DeHaan also was in a Metallica movie.
I mean, before Amazing Spider-Man 2, the movie that kind of put him on the map was a movie called Chronicle.
Yes.
And it's funny because that movie also had... That movie was directed by Josh Trank, who would go on to make the 2015 Fantastic Four, and his career would crash and burn after that.
Yeah, what I heard, Josh was supposed to direct a Star Wars movie, but because of his career, they're like, no, fuck this,
I mean, and it also did not help that he was a bit of a prick on the set of Fantastic Four.
That's what I heard,
Yep.
What I would love to see, I would love to see a movie about the making of that movie.
Yeah.
I think that would be a lot better than the actual movie that we got.
I mean, going back to James Franco, he made a movie about the making of The Room.
He did, yes. I loved that movie, The Disaster Artist.
Disaster Artist, yeah.
Well, speaking of James Franco, but I think it would have been a funny if either him or they replaced his actor. They're like, and then William Dafoe's noticed his son. It's did you? How did you? When did you get older? Because it was years later, so he'd been a lot older.
Okay.
You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
What do you think, Eric?
Sorry, could you repeat that? Sorry.
Well, I said if James Franco or an actor replacing him was in the movie, and then his dad noticed him, he noticed he was obviously a lot older than he was in the first movie.
Yeah, that would have been interesting if they would have had that. And I mean, if they had someone else play James Franco's Harry Osborn, it wouldn't be the same. But I can see why that they would do that because James Franco is. I don't know how true it is with him and the 17-year-old, but if that's true, then that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, what do you think? What did you think of Jameson's portrayal throughout this thing?
He is perfect. I mean, he's so perfect that that I really can't think of anybody else. I did hear at one point somebody suggested that for the Andrew Garfield movies, somebody suggested that it should be Ice Cube. Ice Cube as J. Jonah Jameson. I'm not gonna lie, I actually can see it.
Yeah.
It would have been a very, very different version, but I can't see it.
But I also like the progress they made throughout the thing. When he first released the Mysterio thing, he was in his he had he was in his basement with like a green screen, and later on he was in the actual studio and more. As that video kept making more famous, he got more stuff to an actual desk.
Yeah.
But yeah. See. So what do you guys think of? Okay, the big fight happened. They're going in, and then back up. The part I liked was when they brought in Norman there. He says, "This is my friend Ned and MJ." He's like, "Mary Jane? No, Michelle." Like, they noticed different names.
I do think that was a pretty clever way, and like for them to have MJ in the Tom Holland movies, but yet it's not at the same time.
Yeah. So after the big fight, and May died. They're at Ned's place, and we reveal that somehow Ned has magic in his family. And so, what was your first? I mean, obviously he knew it ahead of time, but what was your first thought when the reveal happened and we saw Andrew and Toby?
I was beyond happy, and and I was expecting it. I would have been really disappointed if they weren't in it. I mean, granted, if they weren't in it, if they truly weren't, it would be disappointing. It would have been foolish business wise. The movie would have not have been as big of a hit if they weren't in it. I mean, I would try to enjoy the movie for what it is, but I was really happy to see them back because Toby was my childhood. Andrew Garfield, he was pretty much the Spider-Man of teen, my teen, like in very very early adulthood Spider-Man. So I thought that Andrew did a phenomenal job. He just deserved to have better material to work with, and this was his chance to finally have better material to work with. And from what I've heard, there are some theaters and like where Andrew's reveal actually got a bigger applause than Toby's, and that says a lot.
So who applied more for you? Was the Andrew reveal, the Toby reveal, Snick?
I know that I can't remember really. Maybe the very slight edge went to Andrew, but it could have been because when they applauded for Toby, they were kind of exhausted from how loud they had cheered for Andrew.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah. Like I'm thinking, like because the two were, if I remember correctly, the two were similar, but I think because Andrew came in first, I think that got the bigger applause.
Yeah, that would explain why. When you scrape off the top of your lungs like that, eventually your vocal cords are going to get tired.
So I think we passed it already, but I think another deleted scene or that's also they added was Betty doing those interviews.
Yeah, yeah, that was around the beginning of the movie, right?
Oh, I think maybe 20, 30 minutes into it because they're by that time they were back in high school already. They were back in school, so
Yeah, I do have to work tomorrow, so
I'll try to wrap this up then.
wait, wait, Lamont, you misunderstood what I said. I was saying, I definitely want to see the extended version. I won't have time tomorrow, but I think I'll have time Monday, so I can see it on Monday. So yeah.
Oh, so what the fight was on the Statue of Liberty. What do you think of them trying to add a Captain America shield to it?
I think that would have been cool, and it also would have been a callback to Civil War.
It would have.
Well, there was a scene in Civil War, and like where Spider-Man and Captain America were fighting, other than
Oh yeah.
so yeah, so yeah, and and it would have been a callback to that. So yeah.
And we mentioned it before. Oh, I skipped some part fast. What do you think of the fact that the Tom Holland Spider-Man used math to defeat Doctor Strange in his dimension?
That is so Peter Parker, and Peter Parker is supposed to be really intelligent, so I thought that was perfect.
Oh, yeah. So we mentioned it before, but what was your when MJ falling and first Tom was trying to catch her and Goblin knocked him away, and then Andrew and she looked scared, and then she looked over at him, and then Andrew caught her. What was your reaction when you first saw that?
My first reaction is like when Andrew Garfield saved MJ.
Yeah.
I was beyond excited. I was satisfied. I was hoping that was going to happen because when I first saw the trailer, when we saw that scene of MJ falling, that was the first thing that came to my mind. Myself and a lot of other people had the same fan theory, and that Andrew Garfield was going to save her, and he did. And that has got to be the first time. No, wait, not the first. One of the rare times where a fan theory of mine actually has been right.
Yeah, I think besides the Netflix, at least for me, that was one of the loudest claps in my theater. One of the loudest cheers when that happened. And,
But yeah, so okay, and when I saw it in the theater, that unfortunately didn't get an applause. I mean, the audience I saw it with was really silent. They're really lame. So I
how,
wasn't
how,
a bigger audience.
how far ahead did you see it? I mean, do you see it? I mean, when did you, how long?
I saw it like the day it came out.
Oh, so you're like opening day thing.
So yeah, and there wasn't that many people there, and they were so silent during the movie. I'm like, you people are lame.
Well, what about you, Snick? How was what was your audience like reaction?
I can't remember. I'm pretty sure there was a positive reaction when Andrew caught MJ, but I don't think I do not think there was like a loud applause or anything. I mean, I remember being happy that it actually happened, but yeah.
Yeah. Then I think we mentioned mentioned again when um uh, Tom was trying to impale the goblin, and Toby stopped him, but then he got stabbed for his troubles in the back.
Yeah, and during that, I seriously thought that for a moment that that Toby's Peter Parker was gonna die. I was like, oh no, you better not kill him off.
That was a thing that I read about, a rumor that might happen. They're thinking about it.
But I mean, to be fair, his Spider-Man has been stabbed before. I mean, he survived. So
he even says that in the movie, like when Tom and Andrew pick him up, and like he's like, "Don't worry, I've been stabbed before. I'm fine."
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of memeable moments like during like the Toby movies.
Did you? I didn't notice it personally. I watched it again. I noticed it. I picked it for the first time. Did you notice any other villains in the cracks that was visible?
Yes, there were. I believe there were a couple of villains that appeared. I think Rhino and Kraven the Hunter were in the cracks.
Yeah, and didn't they announce recently that Kraven's going to be played by Aaron Taylor Johnson in a future movie?
I think they did, yeah.
And what movie is that for again?
A standalone Kraven movie.
Oh, Do you know
Part
what
of the same universe that freaking Venom and Morbius are in.
Oh, Morbius. I heard that movie sucked.
Oh yeah, including the dumbass post-credit scene.
Yeah. That was with the Vulture, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was so bad about it?
Basically, Vulture gets teleported to the Venom / Morbius universe from the same spell that caused No Way Home, which kind of goes against the logic of the spell. And he's in a prison. What happens is they let him go because there's no record of him in the universe, so they have nothing to hold him in prison for. Some freaking how, without any of his resources, he fully constructs his Vulture outfit and goes to meet Morbius. And supposedly they cut some of this dialogue in like a later re-release of the movie, but Vulture tells Morbius, I don't know why I'm in this universe. I think it has something to do with Spider-Man. We should team up.
Okay, which makes no sense because that goes against the spell. What you just said, so that's bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing with this, I guess I'm calling it the Sonyverse now, I guess, but all the people
I think the official name is Sony's Spider-Man universe or the SSU.
Yeah, but like, and these movies, they're making the previous villains, they're more like anti-heroes like that. Like Venom's a good guy, kind of, and Morbius is a good guy when they were bad guys, you know.
Which, and I mean, technically now, the Sonyverse and the MCU universe are in the same universe. And the one thing I'm disappointed about, okay, spoilers for Venom, let it be Carnage. During the post-credit scene, you know, Venom lit the TV and like that had Tom Holland Spider-Man on it. You know, people were expecting that they were going to see those two fight in No Way Home, and we didn't see that. So I'm hoping that we at least will get to see that in a future movie.
Yeah, especially since he was teleported back because of the spell being fixed.
Yeah, this is the like I said, this is again, this is the first time Eddie Brock's been like a good guy, and the other in the Topher Keith one, and the '90s cartoon one, Brock was a bad guy even before Venom got him.
From my understanding, with that post-credit scene in Let There Be Carnage, actually was not directed by Andy Serkis. It was, I believe, it was done without his knowledge. I don't know how true that is. If that is true, then I would be pissed because you know doing something, you know, behind the director's back. I mean, if somebody did that to one of my movies, you know, behind my back, because you know, because it's a movie that I directed, I would be pretty pissed. But granted, I don't know how true that is.
Okay, now at least on the internet, from what I've read on the internet, the census is not in the fourth. If they do another trilogy, we're talking about another trilogy movie. There's only one movie is different than the trilogy, but they're like not in the fourth movie, but the fifth or sixth movie, they either want Tom Holland to tell them or them to figure it out themselves that they're still friends. They want everyone I talked about wants the spell to be broken somehow, but not in the fourth movie. They want the fourth movie to be darker, apparently darker, him as Lowest. What do you guys think? Do you think if they do that route, do you think Tom Holland will tell them, or they will figure out by themselves? Which one would you rather happen?
It could be done either way. I can see them doing it either way. But yeah, I imagine that there will be a scene in like where he sees MJ dating some other guy, and you know, because Peter's in love with her, you know, I believe that it'll be hard for him to see her date someone else. So I imagine that there might be a scene in like where he's trying to get MJ back. I can see them going down that route.
Yeah, another thing that people talk about too is the memory spell. Since Ned doesn't know him anymore, his promise to become the Hobgoblin. You know, because
Yeah, and like I said, I honestly was expecting him, to become the Hobgoblin in No Way Home, but yet the movie already had enough villains
yeah.
anyway.
So like I said, that might happen. You know, and then that would either seeing Ned become a villain himself would break Tom Spider-Man to know he made the wrong decision. He thought that time was the right decision. I think. What do you think, Snick?
I don't know. I'll just have to see the fourth movie when it comes out. I mean, they have the post-credits stinger that shows a little bit of the Venom symbiote being left behind, so I'm guessing they're building up to that.
Yeah. Do you think he was right in not keeping his promise, or
keeping the promise to tell them?
Yeah, you think he should have kept the promise, or you think he made the right decision?
I'm not sure, because I know the reason why he didn't want to tell them. It's like he fully wanted to, but I've heard the idea is that he didn't want to tell them because he didn't want them getting hurt.
Yeah, he thinks their life is he thinks their life is better without him in it.
Yeah.
What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, so it would be a callback to Amazing Spider-Man 2 because there was that scene in where Andrew Garfield broke the promise to to Dennis Leary's character, George Stacy. So I could definitely see those two Spider-Man, relating about that, and and the fact that because Andrew Garfield, broke his promise, is is the reason why that Gwen lost her life. So yeah, I think that would add for a lot of really good drama for the next Spider-Man movie.
Did you read about the script leaks or something? I don't know if they're true or not, but there's the script leaks where they say that there's apparently that MJ had deja vu on her face or recognition at Peter when he left.
I did not.
I think I noticed that when I saw the movie.
I can find it fast.
In fact, I think she was wearing something that she got from Spider-Man specifically.
She was wearing the
where it came from.
Yes, he was wearing the necklace that he gave her in Far From Home.
Yeah.
So, and then at the end, they had a new end credit scene. Since the first end credit scene was about Doctor Strange's.
It was literally
movie.
just a trailer for the Doctor Strange sequel.
And this time it was like they were graduating now, and you saw
and they showed a bunch of I think they showed photos and whatnot from the trips they went on in Homecoming and Far From Home, but with one notable detail changed. No
Peter.
No Peter.
Well, no Peter. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. So Tony Montana brings up a very good point about how Morbius was supposed to come out back in July 2020, but then COVID pushed it back. So because of that, is No Way Home the spell really supposed to impact that? I'm guessing that I know that Morbius did have some reshoots.
It did have reshoots, and the thing is, the Doctor Strange sequel was actually supposed to come out first before No Way Home, and they had to. Here's the thing: I feel like it would have been better off if the Doctor Strange sequel came out first, because I did not see the movie, but I know the plot of it and everything. Compared to No Way Home, it's pretty underwhelming.
It is, and I didn't hate Into the Multiverse of Madness, but it was disappointing. It was underwhelming. I'm by no means saying it was a bad movie. It definitely wasn't a bad movie. It was just disappointing.
Yeah, because they had to alter the script a little bit to accommodate No Way Home coming first, but maybe it would have made more sense if Multiverse of Madness came out first, ultimately.
What were some of the things that they changed?
Well, they mentioned him Spider-Man. They mentioned him helping Spider-Man.
Yeah, in Multiverse of Madness, there's a single line of dialogue where Doctor Strange is like, "Oh, I've dealt with the multiverse before with Spider-Man," Because that's the key thing. He still, the Avengers and all of them, they still remember Spider-Man being there. They just don't remember that he's Peter.
Like, I don't know if this is a real script or not, or somebody made it themselves, but they right the first line that says a flicker of deja vu on her face, then recovering, and then later on, there's like, hold on, MJ, after he leaves, watching Peter go with a lingering sense of recognition. So at the thing where I think they're going in the future, you know, one of those things where, you know, their brain forgets, the heart remembers kind of trope thing. Like, I forgot you, but my heart still remembers you. Kind of trope. I think that's a trope.
Yeah, I mean, the actress who plays Wanda, Elizabeth Olsen, I think she's pretty hot, but that definitely didn't save Multiverse of Madness, though.
I was hoping there would be a lot more appearances from past, like, non-MCU Marvel actors.
I was hoping so too, because that would have been perfect.
Yeah, like, instead of having a brand new actor playing Mr. Fantastic, they should have had a previous actor play him, I think.
Or what they could have done, I think what they could have done is like that they could have had both the new actor, and they also could have had like the older versions come back too.
Because many people are saying that John Krasinski was like a perfect Mr. Fantastic for the MCU, so now people are worried they wasted him for like a brief scene.
So what do you guys think of Multiverse of Madness? Two things. What do you guys think of Patrick Stewart's appearance?
It was nice to see him back. I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, it was at least nice to see him back, but like I said, I wish they brought back more than just him. And even then, he's not playing his version of Professor X from like the X-Men movies. He's playing, I think they imply he's supposed to be based on like the 90s animated series. Like they even play like a little bit of a theme when he appears.
Yeah, like I heard a rumor on that Tom Cruise actually was supposed to appear like as a variant of Tony Stark. And the reason for that because Tom Cruise actually almost played Iron Man in the first Iron Man movie.
I think I remember that rumor. But
yeah, and as far as John Krasinski, I thought that they wrote him kind of in a moronic way. He said, yeah, like he's supposed to be smart, but yet he straight up tells Wanda how to defeat, one of the people on his side.
Yeah, does he mention how to beat Black Bolt?
He mentioned to her how to defeat that guy with like his mouth power or
Black Bolt. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, him, yeah.
I mean, speaking of him, they actually got back the actor from the crappy Inhumans series back when Marvel was really trying to push the Inhumans as a replacement for the X-Men. And for his brief scene, he does get to play Black Bolt a lot more faithfully, I've heard.
Yeah, I did not watch the Marvel. The only Inhumans I ever saw were the ones they had on Shield, which still pisses me off that they made that non-canon, at least for now. At least after we got used to all the characters. Oh, it's not canon anymore, guys. Sorry. I think. But yeah. What we're talking about.
Because, speaking of Patrick Stewart, the thing with he now stole back the title for longest running actor playing a Marvel character. Because when Tobey reappeared in No Way Home, he stole the title because Patrick Stewart last appeared as Professor X in Logan.
Uh-huh.
And then Patrick Stewart took the title right back when he appeared in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, and there were so many missed opportunities like with Multiverse of Madness because it's a multiverse, and so they really could have done anything that they wanted. There were so many opportunities, and they missed all that. Like, having all these cameos from like all these past Marvel movies, like what you said. Well,
Yeah.
like they could have had a cameo from Deadpool. They could have had
Deadpool, like the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies, maybe Ghost Rider, maybe Wesley Snipes' Blade. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was such a missed opportunity. And
Yeah, well, I know why they didn't do the first Daredevil movie because that was a flop. The Charlie Cox ones recently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
and I don't think Ben Affleck wants to play Daredevil again unless if they paid him a fuck ton of money.
Yeah.
But it's funny. Before Eric's college fell through, I was planning for this to be Eric's last possible appearance on the show. Well, we got to in school, obviously, but I thought it was
But yeah, and then there were those financial issues with this semester of college. So
That was what I thought was ironic since he started this season with a big Marvel, the whole cinematic universe Marvel, and he's going to end the season on a Marvel movie, bookending
But yeah, I am going to be going back in January though.
So now that since you're taking a college break this semester, what are your plans for your channel coming up for the fall and winter?
So next summer I have things that piss me off. The movie 3, but that's not until like next year. I guess I have some live streams planned, but luckily I have moderators and yeah, and I might do like some gaming live streams because it's been a while ever since I've done one of those. The last time I did one was in like February or March of last year when I played the Sega Master System version of Sonic the Hedgehog. So I am totally down for doing another gaming live stream, and there are gonna be some more things that piss Savart off videos. There's gonna be a Halloween special. Originally, I was not going to appear in it because of college, but since my college semester fell through, I am going to appear in it after all. So yeah, as of now, that's all that's really planned. So yeah. How about YouTube?
I don't really do much on YouTube these days. I mean, I don't really live stream.
Yeah,
but one thing I have got. I mean, a personal project is like put together like show marathons for myself. Like I take episodes, I stitch them together, and I play them like nonstop for myself. Also, one thing I've really taken a liking to is making animations in Source Filmmaker. So maybe I'll make a couple of those and post them on my YouTube channel.
Oh wait,
question.
So you said that you make animations?
Yeah, using SFM, Source Filmmaker.
Okay, well, for my first movie, I had a brief animation scene, but she was friends with my ex, and because she's friends with my ex, why I didn't ask her to do it again. So, do you think that maybe that you could do some animations for any of my YouTube stuff?
It depends. I mean, I don't think I could do like original, like if it involved like game characters or something, I possibly, but I don't think I could do. I don't do like modeling. Like I just take models off like the Steam Workshop, SFM Lab.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Snick, going a throwback here. Have you ever thought about playing a certain Xbox game again?
Oh, you mean Shrek?
Yeah.
Not really.
Speaking of that, did you ever finish your last review of the Shrek on Xbox? Did you ever finish that review you recording?
Yeah, I haven't. I did film some clips for it, for an intro. I wound up using those clips in an April Fool's joke.
Ah.
Like basically, like, let me explain this. So, I used the clips in an April Fool's joke. So basically, in the clips were freaking me. I made those clips when Brass of 455 visited my house for the first time. So he comes down the stairs, I take the game, I shove it in his face, and then the last clip we recorded was him, like, in a hypnotized state. He picks up the Xbox controller, he's like, I must play this game. Then it cut to modern-day footage of me saying, well, the Shrek on Xbox review is his problem now, so you know what that means, and it segues completely away from Shrek. And instead, it cuts to me talking about the PS5, because I had just gotten my PS5 at the time.
Oh, I still need to get one of those.
And, oh yeah, because, you know, KH4, I think, is going to be PS5 only, plus Xbox Series X.
But yeah, so Eric, but back in the olden days, my old crew of the podcast, Shrek on Xbox was like an inside joke to us. I mean, it was like one of the toughest games we ever had to play, and it drove us crazy, especially the timed version.
Yeah, like, I don't think about Shrek Xbox as much as I used to, but it is one of those games where it is absolutely horrendous to play, but it's really freaking funny to watch somebody else play it.
So you have an Xbox, Eric?
Yes, I do. I have the original, the 360, and the Xbox One.
Yeah, it's an original Xbox game, and it's not backwards compatible with anything. So
that's a challenge for you. The live stream you playing Shrek on Xbox. See if it drove you crazy like it drove them crazy. That's our challenge right now. Right here on the podcast to play that game.
Well, anyways, I am getting really tired, and I got work tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I think.
All right, so I got light it up. Before we go, you want to say anything before we go?
Thank you all for watching, and look forward to content coming on my channel.
As I say, never stop learning. Enjoy the randomness. I'll see you hopefully next Saturday with I forget his name, but hopefully we'll be there.